Everyone, back with another episode. This is Nitya Ramachandra from the NR Hour Sports Show. We're live on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Spotify, on all the podcast platforms. So fans, please tune in on the Spreaker app. Everybody knows that, where you guys can ask questions at the end. I'm joined by my co-host, Kia Lyons. Go follow her. She does some amazing stuff. And today's guest, we have a special guest. He's a legend in the NFL. He used to play for the New York Giants, Cincinnati Bengals. He went to Northwestern State for college. His name is Gary Reasons. He's a two-time Super Bowl champion. He won the Super Bowl underneath Coach Bill Parcells. Man, what a great career he had. A linebacker, man, wear number 55 for the Giants, and what a great productive career. So I can't wait to learn more about his story, his journey. He played with Lawrence Taylor, played with Leonard Marshall, all the Giant greats. And now off the field, he's an analyst, so he dissects the football game on the different side of the spectrum. So first of all, Gary, thank you for joining us on short notice. I know I'm sure you're busy with Super Bowl coming up, but how are you and your family doing today? And thanks for joining us again.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm here in North Texas. I've got pretty decent weather outside. We got through the ice storm here that we had in North Texas a few days ago, but now it's not too bad. We had a little rain today. All those good. It sets up to be a good week here. Look forward to a Super Bowl. This time of year is always really special to me, and obviously my teammates from way back when, because it means something. And I see you, Miss Kia. That's good advertising right there. You put it out there pretty well. So congratulations to the Eagles for making it to the big game.
Hey, we got I'm a Cowboy fan, so we got Eagles, Cowboys, and Giants in here.
Well, I grew up a Cowboys fan when I was growing up here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So, I grew up, and I tell you, the Cowboys had a chance to draft me. They just didn't get it done. So I became a New York Giant.
Wow.
Which is awesome as well. Awesome. I'm glad you did.
It's time to be a New York Giant. That's what I'll say.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Tell us, who are you projecting to win the Super Bowl?
Who am I projecting to win the Super Bowl? Both teams, I think, are very, very tremendous in their own right. You look at the defensive play for Philadelphia and what they've gotten all season, and it's been tremendous. And what Jalen's been able to do at the quarterback spot to kind of mold his game into, developing the assets and tools around him, it's turned out pretty good. I am always amazed, though, by Patrick Mahomes and that offense from Kansas City and what Andy Reid has been able to do with him and moving pieces, putting pieces together there. Travis Kelce, I think, is at the top of his game in the NFL.
Yeah.
I may think I would give the nod potentially to Kansas City. I don't really have a horse in the game that I'm gonna lean on or ride here at the end, but I think that Kansas City might pull it out here with a close one over the Eagles.
Ooh, that one hurts, Gary. That one hurts. But I respect it and I appreciate it and I can understand it.
Yeah. Hey, let me say something here, Kia. I see over your shoulder there a gentleman's name, Mr. Reggie White, that I respect immensely. I mean, he played, my era back in the NFL, and I actually want to share with everybody who's out there listening that Reggie, he was someone who I would call a kind of a beacon, because what happened to him and his tragic death opened the eyes of so many players and men, which is sleep apnea. I suffered from sleep apnea back around the time that he passed away. I benefited because I went and got treatment, and I use a CPAP to sleep in. I'm proud to say that I think it's kept my marriage better and in the bedroom, and also it's kept me healthy. So I see Reggie there. I love him to death, and sad that he was gone. Sad that he's gone.
That is sad. We love Reggie. My best friend's dad was a preacher for the Eagles and coached Reggie in his spirituality and his faith. So
all right,
for the Eagles and all. But tell us, how did you get into football? What's your start, your passion for it?
I've been playing football since I was 8 years old, and I've been involved in football now for over 50 years. When you have the path that I've gone on, from playing to being a broadcaster, and it's just really been a good ride for me. Started playing football when I was 8 years old in Pee Wee football in Crowley, Texas, south of Fort Worth here. So it's been a good, fun ride for me. And I tell you, I never really meant it to be a lifelong event, but it has for me. And I've just been fortunate to be able to be a part of it at the high school level and the collegiate level. I've even coached a little bit. I was a head coach of an arena football team for a couple of seasons, and really enjoyed getting involved with the players and coaching them up. But I think my calling may still be in the broadcast booth because I'm no longer coaching.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah. So speaking of before we get to that arena football, that's interesting. I didn't know about that. But can you tell our fans about being inducted into the College Hall of Fame at Northwestern State? What does that mean to you when a college recognizes a player from back in the day and the things you did on the field for them and even off the field too? What does that mean to you?
Well, to be inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame, it means that I'm one of just a very select few of people who are in the millions. You talk about 7 or 8 million players over time who have played college football, and I'm amongst 1,300, 400, something like that, inducted in the College Football Hall of Fame. And pretty uniquely, when I was inducted, it was the summer of 1996. I was among the inaugural class of small college players to first be inducted in the College Football Hall of Fame. So my inductees along with me were Terry Bradshaw, Walter Payton, Buck Buchanan from Grambling University, Neil Lomax. I mean, some really superlative guys that are just, tremendous names in the game itself. But, understanding that, not is there just Division I football, but there's the Division I AA, FCS football, Division II and Division III. At the collegiate level, I think the National Football Foundation and College Football Hall of Fame got it right, and they started opening the gates to let the smaller college players in there. So I'm proud to be a part of that. It was a unique story. I never really even knew that this was about to happen. I was at my home. I was living in Spring, Texas, just north of Houston, during while I was playing and just after. And I got a FedEx letter delivered to me. And I went into my office, pulled the zipper off on it, pulled the letter out, and started reading. It says, "Dear Gary, I'm pleased to share with you that you've been selected for induction to the College Football Hall of Fame." Wow. And I'm like, "Oh my God!" it hit me out of nowhere, and it really did. So that was a tremendous thing, and it stayed with me. And it's just something that I really am very proud of. And to be a part of a great group of inaugural, inductees is one thing, but to be amongst some of the greatest ever to play the game at the college level is really tremendous.
And in 1997, you were inducted in also the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. What was that like, too?
Well, I played ball at Northwestern State in Natchitoches, Louisiana, which is part of the Southland Conference these days. We were independent back then, but so I played collegiately there, and so we had several different universities, and there still are in Louisiana, that have a collegiate football program. And I was at Northwestern State. And to be inducted in the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame is, just kind of right along with the College Football Hall of Fame thing that, they recognize some of the excellence of what I've done on the field and off the field, being in the broadcast booth, being a player. And, I've a long legacy with the NFL Players Association and being one of the leaders there. So I've got a pretty interesting background that kind of has made me just kind of a nice little pick there for some of those organizations to say, hey, this guy, he needs to be in here because he's done something special.
Wow. I'm blown away. I have 1,000 questions, but I'm just going to narrow in on your take on Terry Bradshaw and Walter Payton. We'll get ready to celebrate Walter Payton Friday for the NFL Honors Awards. Tell us about those guys. They're incredible to me.
They really are. Terry's a unique guy. So Terry went to Louisiana Tech, north of where I went to school in Louisiana. He was an era before me, so he played in the 70s in the National Football League. I was in the 80s and early 90s, but known Terry a long time. He's a great guy. Always got a fun thing to say, and really what you see on TV with him today is what you get when you're around him all the time. So Terry's a very gregarious guy and fun to be around. He kind of, he just kind of has that quip about him. Everybody just loves Terry Bradshaw, and it's just kind of his nature. Walter, obviously has passed on, but it was great to get to know him, get to see him a little bit, and being a part of it. Our induction ceremony in the summer of 1996 was actually in South Bend, Indiana, and home of Notre Dame, but that was the original home for the National College Football Hall of Fame. So it was originally there. So we had all the inductees would fly in there. Well, Walter, obviously he lived in Chicago at that time, and it almost like all of Chicago came down from Chicago to South Bend just to see Walter inducted, because it was full of an audience of fans there for Walter Payton just to be inducted to the College Football Hall of Fame, following on to what he had done in the National Football League, which is obviously one of the best running backs of all time.
Incredible.
That's amazing. Yeah. Yeah, Walter obviously. So I wonder who's going to win the Walter Payton Award, but it's always amazing to see these players get honored at these awards, and really looking forward to seeing the award show on Thursday. I think
one more thing about Walter. I actually host an MC and I produce the FCS National Award Show, which means we are taking a look at the Division I FCS football players across America, which are 120 plus universities that play. They play in a championship bracket, and it's either North Dakota State or South Dakota State usually winning those. North Dakota State didn't win it this year. South Dakota State got them, but nonetheless, the night just before the national championship game, I host and broadcast a television show that awards the Walter Payton Award, the Buck Buchanan Award, the Jerry Rice Award, the Eddie Robinson Award, and a Doris Robinson Award. So all of these national legacy awards, I have the pleasure of presenting every year to some very deserved athletes at the Division I FCS level. And the Walter Payton Award is, quote, like the Heisman Trophy of the FCS. And so we have a Walter Payton Award that we present, and with obviously with the blessings of the family of Walter Payton. Garrett Payton is a good friend, his son, of our award show, and really a pleasure to be around. So I thought your listeners might have a different take or spin on what else Walter Payton has. The Walter Payton Man of the Year Award in the National Football League, and the Walter Payton Award at the FCS level in Division I college football.
What a prestigious honor.
Yep.
It really is. I'm blessed to be a part of being able to be a part of that. My legacy in FCS football is pretty unique. I was the first ever player to be selected as the first team collegiate All-American in that subdivision. So, that's pretty unique. That was kind of my entry card into the College Football Hall of Fame, I think.
That's incredible. It's such an honor to be here today, Gary. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So we are live with two-time Super Bowl champion, former NFL linebacker Gary Reasons. Fans, please tune in and get your questions in. We're going to do hopefully we have time to do a fan Q&A. But can you tell our fans some of your best moments at college, Northwestern State? Talk about some of your best moments there.
We had a really unique group. You'll hear some names that I'll tell you that I'm sure you'll remember. We had a quarterback wound up playing the National Football League for a long time. His name is Bobby Hebert. Bobby was called the Cajun Cannon, and he had a really strong arm. He actually had an opportunity to be drafted in the National Football League, was drafted by the United States Football League, the USFL. And he actually won the very first national world championship of the USFL for the Michigan Panthers as their quarterback. But also on our teams in college, we had Mark Duper, wide receiver for the Miami Dolphins, multi-year Pro Bowl player. And we've had a great legacy of players come out of Northwestern State over the years, and just really a fun group to be around. And it hadn't been as great lately. They haven't been won as many games as a lot of our alumnus would like to have happen, but it's just a great legacy of players that have come out of there. And my collegiate experience was one that I really cherish.
Wow.
Incredible experience. And tell it, what was it like going from an incredible experience collegiate in college to pro?
Yeah, it wasn't something, Kia, that I was just not counting on. It happened. It turned out that I was a really good player and a good fit. Was a fourth-round draft pick of the New York Giants back in 1984. 1984 was really special for me. I got married. I had my first child, got playing the National Football League. A lot of big things happening. It was the first time I had gone to Manhattan and flew around that crazy island. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going here. So, I'm here from Texas and Louisiana. I'm just a small town kid, basically going to the Big Apple. And like, wow, this is interesting. Anyway, but it all was for a good reason, and it all fit pretty well. And to kind of just answer it there, I really was just a small town kid, but this guy gave me an opportunity to kind of go and become a man, start a family, raise a family. And we lived half the year in New Jersey, half the year in Texas in the off season while I was playing, and it was really a special time. Our teams with the Giants when I got there, I think we started with Bill Parcells with his ascension of our team when we were building for success. Our 1984 team was really the heart and the nucleus of that 84 draft class for the Giants. And, we had myself and Carl Banks was on our team, on our draft. Jeff Hostetler was there. Lionel Manuel was in that mix, a great receiver. So we had a good group that came in there to start that process, along with some of the great players that were already with the Giants. Already solidified was obviously Phil Simms and Harry Carson, Lawrence Taylor. Oh, 56. You remember him? Yeah, he's one of those guys. He was part of that group. So we wound up having a great group, and we got to the playoffs in 84, 85. Didn't reach our expectations in 85. We thought we had a chance to win it there, but the Bears got us derailed in Chicago in that ice storm that we had to live through up there. But 86 was really a special season, guys. That was the first really meaningful chance that the Giants had to really kind of, I think, give back to the fans. We were just a very, very dominant team in 1986. And then when we had to play the Washington Redskins for the third time in an NFC Championship game in Giant Stadium, well, that's the old building, not the new MetLife Stadium. We played back in the old stadium on the old 1/4-inch AstroTurf with concrete on the bottom. It really was concrete on the bottom. So, but it was our house, and we had that game. And I remember the NFC Championship game as being probably the most electric game that I had ever been in as far as a stadium, because the fans were so into it, the players were so into it, and we had to beat the Washington football team, as they're called today. Back then, the Redskins, but then we had to beat them for a third time that season, and it just turned out to be a magical evening for us. And we won that ball game, and we were riding high and had our chance to get out to the first Super Bowl that the Giants had ever been in. And so, just think of all the boxes that we checked along the way, and how the success we had in kind of putting that ship in motion for the Giants. And with all the fans, it was just a special time to be in New York. The Mets were doing their thing as well, and it was a really, really cool time. And wasn't so good for the Eagles back then, but it was really good for us back in the early '80s and mid '80s. And so I'm very proud of what we accomplished back then.
That's incredible. Love to hear about the electric moments.
Yes, really are. That is an electric moment when you
absolutely.
I tell people all the time, if you see the confetti falling after the game, and I can still remember it, and I feel like you could touch it. It's almost palpable that you could grab that experience, and just turning around and looking up in the stands, and the hugs and the embraces and all the fans. The Philadelphia Eagles just went through that same experience in the stadium that they're in. So it's something that you have to be there to experience, to understand that it really just kind of took its own shape. And the Giants, who had been a downtrodden team for many, many years prior to that, this really was kind of a redemption or a born again kind of a moment for the football Giants.
Wow.
So special.
Yeah. So can you tell our fans, take us to that game against the Denver Broncos? It was snowing out there, Mile High Stadium, playing against the great John Elway, and you had to play against Bobby Humphrey. Take us back to that play, and what was that game like playing in the snow?
Well, we had won Super Bowl 21, and we were trying to get our second Super Bowl. That would have been later, but this is the 1989 season. We had to win this game in Denver to get into the playoffs, have a chance to get into the playoffs. It was a close ball game, and this was just a drive the Broncos had put together, marching down the field. And I had made a couple of really spectacular tackles and plays on that drive, but still, they had still amassed enough to get in there where they're going 4th and goal on the goal line against us. And so if I'm the linebacker on the backside, and I knew exactly what the play was going to be when John Elway turned out. And so I just kind of timed it, and I flew over the top and made a great tackle on Bobby Humphrey in the backfield, really before he got started. And the collision was so impactful that it actually knocked his ear pad out of his helmet, and you see it flying. And so it's called The Hit. Gary Reasons, The Hit on YouTube. Go check it out. It's been, it's been viewed millions and millions of times by by football fans. But it's a great moment and a remembrance of our defense and how hard and physical and tough that we played. And it was one of the plays that, anytime I ever talk to fans of the New York Giants, they always bring up that play. And then you go the next season over, you go to the NFC Championship game and against San Francisco, and we had to win that ball game. And I wound up audibling to a fake punt in that ball game, and ran almost 30 yards, 29 yards, I guess is what it was, for a first down, and set us up for a field goal, and we win the ball game. So it was a couple of big plays there, big moments. Proud to have those instead of the knucklehead moments that some guys are remembered for. I'm remembered for a couple of spectacular ones.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, wow, that's amazing.
Great lessons learned from Bill Parcells.
Bill is one of those guys that I love him to death because of how he handled us as a team. He'll tell you this. He'll say, guys, I'll treat everyone fairly, but I treat everyone differently. And that's because everyone comes from a different background. Everyone has different buttons that they need to push. And I learned from Bill how he pushed the buttons of some of my teammates and other guys around us, even his coaches. They had to, kind of walk the line with him, and we all did. But Bill, basically a Jersey guy, he coached the kind of like a Jersey style. It's kind of his way or the highway. First thing, last question you want to ever hear from somebody at the Giants that says, "Well, Gary, good to see you, but do you want an aisle or a window?" That means you're moving out, you're getting out, and that's kind of Bill's quip. He would always walk around the locker room. He had those one-liner zingers that he would throw at guys all the time, and he kept us up to speed as far as what we needed to get accomplished. He was always a guy that really knew a little bit about everybody's role on the team and how he wanted them to be a part of it. He let his coaches coach, but he definitely was the guy who was pulling the strings at the top of that. And you understood that Bill Parcells was the leader of our football team. And, just the physical game and nature that we played with back then, that all emanated, I think, from how hard and how physical we practiced, how hard we were coached to play. And it just really set the foundation for what kind of football team we were.
Yeah.
I love that inside edition. That's tough.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys had, like I said, you guys had a special team. Your defense was, don't get me wrong, a hard-hitting defense, and everybody knows about the Lennon Marshall play against Joe Montana. That we can always talk about that. But can you talk about what was it like playing with Lawrence Taylor, being on the same defense as him, and obviously he legendary player, the GOAT. What was that like playing with him, and what did you learn from Lawrence Taylor?
I tell people all the time that Lawrence Taylor played with me. Yeah. It's just a little bit of a joke, because Lawrence, this was definitely Lawrence Taylor time back then. When I first got the call on draft day that the New York Giants had drafted me, I said, why? They've got this stellar linebacker group already. But as it turned out, there were a couple of guys that were a little older that they were looking to move on from, and they did. That was Brian Kelly, an inside linebacker, and then Brad Van Pelt, who they moved on with from. So they wanted a little more youth. Carl Banks came in the first round. I was a fourth-round draft pick. But when we got to the Giants, and Carl and I were seeing what was ahead here, there were some great leaders there. Harry Carson, an inside linebacker, was a true leader, a true guy, leader in the locker room, all over the place. And Lawrence Taylor was just a guy who could do anything and everything that you could ever ask. He's the most gifted athlete I've ever seen. He's the most physical football player that I had ever seen. You tell him to go this way, and he'll find a way to get it done. He'll either go through him, around him, and make the player look silly. And all the players today who do these special moves and things, Lawrence did them all. He made them all up himself. I mean, it was all him. Now they all go back and watch Lawrence Taylor film and figure out how he did these things, and they're trying to emulate it today. So he was the prototypical outside linebacker and rusher, and it was an amazing thing every day to be able to come in and work alongside him. And he's a great teammate. He came to play. He was there to win. There's no doubt about that. You always had the best from Lawrence Taylor on the field, and that's a great remembrance of the greatest player of all time.
Yeah, see, when we did the event with him on Sunday, he's a freak of nature still. I feel like he can still play now in this generation, and now he has a big long earring and next on his ear and being all swagged out, and also he was just on the Adam Pac-Man Jones podcast. I saw he was on their podcast, and this guy he's loves the fans and loves interacting with the fans, and we saw it firsthand Sunday. He was interacting with all the fans, and it was just amazing to see with this type of interaction.
He's at peace. He loves what he is. I mean, Lawrence is a mecca. I mean, he's a people magnet. Everybody comes to see him. He's very much gracious. Back in the 80s and 90s, maybe not so much because it's kind of an interruption on his time. But I think as time has gone on, he has grown into the Hall of Fame dignitary of the New York Giants that everybody really just loves. And he conducts himself in a way that he's adorable to fans. He doesn't talk in big sentences and big words and all that stuff. Lawrence is Lawrence. He's just there. He's one of the people, and he's just obviously the best athlete I ever played with. So I don't have a whole lot of room to talk there. I wasn't the most gifted athlete. I was a real structured kind of player, and Lawrence could do anything just that you could ask him to do.
True moment of fun and true moment of faith in your football experience.
True moment of fun. Wow. Well, the fun moment, I just told you, it was in 1990 season out in San Francisco where I audibled as a personal protector to our punter. I audible to a fake punt. And so I take that snap and then I'm running, and here I am, a guy who's a linebacker, who's not the most fleet of foot, mind you, running down the field. And, I used to be a running back in high school and, long time ago, ball in my hand, but I'm a linebacker. I'm a tackler. I'm trying to get that ball. Sure, I had a few interceptions along my career, but not anything with a big, expansive open field. And I had one guy to beat down there. And I tell you, John Taylor, who was the punt returner, was the guy I had to beat. And I will say this, John Taylor is the greatest open field tackler of all time. He tackled me. So that's my story. But this was a fun moment for me. And what was your other question?
And a true moment of faith.
True moment of faith. Yeah, you got to trust what you see. And I trust what I saw in Denver as we talk about that play when I knew it was on fourth and one what the Broncos were going to do. As soon as John Elway turned out, I had the instinct and I trusted my instinct, and I took that leap of faith, and it's been known as Gary Reasons the hit. It was the hit of the decade in the 1980s, and it's been around for a long time.
Love it.
Yeah, so can you talk about I'm going to put you on the spot right now, but tell our fans, obviously winning a championship is hard itself. Winning one, it's hard for some people, but to be able to win two, and how special is that for you? And which one would you say is the more special one to you?
Well, I'll answer that this way. All teams start at the beginning of the season setting their goal to get to the Super Bowl. Just get to the game, then you have a chance to win it. And only two teams do every season. So, the teams that don't get there, whatever you did throughout the season, win, loss, playoffs, no playoffs, wasn't a success. The two teams that get to the Super Bowl, obviously, they had the season they expected, and one of the teams won the game. So that's kind of how you go about things. I think the best season, the best championship that we had was really the first Super Bowl, as I kind of talked about. It kind of set the table for what the Giants were becoming, a long tenured, good, strong, physical team. And it was a culmination of a lot of hard work in 1986. That season was special. We went 14-2 throughout the season, wound up, 17-2 on the year to win the Super Bowl. So it was a tremendous outcome, and we had a chance to share a lot of it with the fans. But believe it or not, back then we didn't have either one of the Super Bowls. We didn't have parades because it was some weird stuff going on. They didn't want parades in New York, and
that's heartbreaking, Gary.
It is. We wound up having a celebration in the stadium after one of those games, but nonetheless, it turned out okay. I'm not crying about it, but the '86 season and celebrating that with the fans and that first Super Bowl was really the best.
Yeah, the first Super Bowl, you guys were 14-2. The second Super Bowl, you were 13-3. Mm-hmm.
Crushers. Gary, help us understand your key to balance while you were playing professionally and your key to balance personally now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, football has always been a part of my life, as I talked about. When I got out of the game in the National Football League, I really had to focus on the game, and I took basically a year off. My kids were young. I had my house in Houston, North Houston, and we settled down there. In 1994, I got a call early in the summer. It was from the executive producer of ABC Sports. He and I had gotten acquainted, over my playing career. I'd always been an MC or a host of events, and kind of a ham, a guy who can get up and carry himself pretty well in front of an audience. And so Jack O'Hara was this gentleman's name, and Jack was the executive producer. And he called me and he said, "Gary, I want you to be a part of our college football group of analysts here, and I want you to be a part of our team." And he says, "I want you to start off once you go to a game." And I said, "Okay, I'll do it, Jack." So I started with ABC Sports, and my very first game was to be a sideline reporter at the University of Michigan, the Big House, 102,000 people. I had never had an IFB in my ear. I'd never really, done a television production before. And my first on-camera piece was in front of the camera as the Michigan team was coming on the field, and all the crowd erupting. And so here it is. They come out of the field and they're going to throw it down to me. I can't hear the producer in anything in my ear. I saw the red light on the camera turn on. I said, "Well, I guess that's my cue to go." So I just started talking, and it worked out just fine. And in that game, I had 19 sideline hits, which means, normally you have 3 or 4 hits to the sideline reporter. But myself, I just came out of the NFL, out of the game. I had so much to share and talk about. And within a couple of weeks, Jack said, "Gary says, you're not going on the field anymore as a sideline reporter. We're putting you up in the booth."
Wow.
You got a whole lot to say, and we need to hear it. So that's what it was. And, Jack, tragically, he and his wife, they were part of TWA Flight 800 that crashed off of Manhattan in that wreck. But God love him. It gave me an opportunity to be a broadcaster. And I've been there now since 1994. I was with ABC Sports for 4 years, and then I joined Fox Sports out of Texas in 1998. I still work with Fox. It's now turned into Bally Sports. So really, this coming season will be my 30th year of college football as a broadcaster. Wow. And it's just become a part of me. So football is my life. It's part of it. Some of these things up here, they talk about, what your passion is. And I can talk football all day long. I can talk high school games. I broadcast the high school Texas State Championship game for Bally Sports here in Texas at AT&T Stadium. Man, what a pleasure to see those kids play so hard. And then the college game, the tough part is being apart from family over the weekends and things. And my son played college football and high school ball, great player. And then a high school, collegiate level, I got to see a few of his games. But it's been a pleasure of mine to be a part of football for so long.
Yeah, and you're following your passion. You're just showing up and just totally connected. That's amazing.
And I still have a business career, so that's the football season. In the off season, I'm in the business world. I started in the technology space. I've been in the government contracting world. Okay. And, I currently run a group. It's called Pro Athletes Team. And we are a group of former athletes and business professionals. And we just look into our network and who can we help? We call it Helping Others Succeed. And we have some unique programs that we bring to employers in the healthcare space. I'm more of a healthcare consultant right now. And so I love to be able to bring something of value to an employer that has a better outcome for the employee/patients. And also economically, it makes sense both for the employer and the employee. I've got some unique programs. Check out proathletesteam.com. Bring me up, talk about that. I'm happy to share with you. And something I'm representing in the healthcare space is it's a free service to all Medicare patients. And it is actually remote patient monitoring, all complimentary of Uncle Sam for Medicare patients. And we've got, it's called RPM by PAT, Remote Patient Monitoring by Pro Athletes Team. Look on proathletesteam.com to see that. But and then you can get that complimentary. We'll send you a tablet and all the devices, and we'll just remotely check your vitals every single day. And so being health aware, as we get older, we all want to be a little more health aware. This brings the patient, most times it's going to be 6 months, 8 months before you go to a doctor again. Well, you need to keep up with it every day. and the vitals are the key to that. So there's 4 devices that we keep up with that, and all do it remotely via the internet and capture those into a HIPAA compliant server. So check it out on proathleteteam.com.
Will do.
We'll definitely check it out. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And can you tell our fans, obviously, you not only play for the Giants, you play for the Bengals, but how tough is it for you? Obviously, as a business, a lot of players move around. How tough is it for you and your family to move from the Giants to a different team? Because you basically spend your whole career with one team, but you have to move to a different team.
Yeah, we had 2 homes back when I was playing. We had a home in Houston. We had a home in the New Jersey area. And so when I was up with the Giants in my last season in 1992, I was actually in training camp with the Giants, and I got hurt in training camp. My family had already moved up, transferred up to the Northeast for that. I was expecting to be with the Giants, but I got injured in training camp. So they put me where they're going to put me on an injured reserve. They actually waived me injured before the season started. Gave them an extra roster spot. They were telling me they were going to sign me back. And I said, well, what it is. But I had an opportunity to play. I was well before the time that they expected me to be well. And the Bengals called me, and one thing led to another, and I just made a lateral move. And the family part of it there is that we didn't stay together. The family was in New Jersey, and then they actually went down to Houston into our other home. And she stayed. My wife kept my kids there. There were 3 young kids, all under 5 years old. So, boy, she was Superwoman at that time. She was dealing with three kids under 5, for months. And then they took a couple of flights up to Cincinnati while I was there, and spent a little time with me there. But it was an interesting time. That was my last foray in the NFL. I had an opportunity. I was part of the NFLPA executive committee, and that was the first year in 1993 of true free agency. I was a part of the executive team that got that moving for the guys. I explored just a little bit of it. I didn't really try to push my way onto teams. It wound up. I just hung up my cleats, so to speak, after 9 productive years, and then I moved on to obviously the broadcast booth, and I think it's been a good fit for me.
Wow.
3 kids. That is impressive.
Yeah.
I have 3 myself, so I admire
all 3 of my kids. Let me brag on them a little bit. All 3 of them college athletes. My son played college football. Both of my daughters played collegiate volleyball, and they're all smart, beautiful kids, and doing great. Got a couple of grands from my oldest daughter, so we're well on our way.
Wow.
That's amazing. Congrats. Life
Thank
keeps
you.
us so busy. What is your advice to current players, to the youth? What was your advice to your own kids on staying focused amidst all these busy things that life brings us?
Well, staying focused, sure. You got to understand what you're doing, and you got to commit to it. Sometimes the commitments are hard. For an athlete, for a professional athlete, it is that time away from family. It's the time preparing. It's the hard effort that you have physically and mentally. And, it takes a toll sometimes on some relationships. It takes a toll on you as an individual. So you have to deal with those things. And, as a professional athlete, there are things coming at you all different types of ways. And you have no idea what's about to hit you once you step into that world. And it is quite a bit of a roller coaster that you're in the spotlight, and it's bright. It's, everything is beaming right on you. There's opportunities, and you just got to weigh through everything, but still continue to keep focused. That's what I tell players as they move into the game, but still have an eye open. And really, what I tell guys is, try to make connections and meaningful connections. Relationships are what are driving business decisions in the future. So draw down and make as many relationships as you can to meaningful organizations and people. And have those built up. And today's technology gives you an ability to capture those, much like we do with Pro Athletes Team. We use our relationship capital to connect with others and bring some value to those folks. And it's just really just what the name of the game is. It's basically networking. And if you're able to do that, you're going to make a success out of it.
Wow.
Great share.
Yeah. Speaking of family, there's a picture. I saw a couple of pictures of you holding your son while he was a baby, a kid, and when you were still playing in the league, and there was a picture of you in the Giants jersey holding your son. What does that mean to you? Obviously, family is really important to athletes' careers, and but what was that? Holding your son during after the game?
Yeah, that was Super Bowl 25. He was actually came down on the field, and I'm looking at a collage of those pictures right up here on my wall. He put those pictures together and sent it to me one holiday ago. I don't forget which one it was, but I look at it every single day, and it certainly is a special time. For him to come and be a part of that game, it's a remembrance for him. We went back to a Giants game this year with myself and my wife, and my son flew up, and I didn't know this, but he had jerseys made, Gary Reasons jerseys that they wore to the game, and I'm like, oh my gosh, But it was fun. So family is really at the heart of everything. That's what we do. Everything we do for is it's really for our families and really to nurture those relationships and see kiddos grow up and see the grandkids around, and you have that, and that's really what life is all about, guys.
Well,
Absolutely. And you're a two-time Super Bowl champ. You've got college football Hall of Fame. You've got it. You're on the wall. You've gone back with your family. How does it feel now to just be able to be present, to reel it all in, knowing your commitment it's all worth it?
Well, I'm always available to my kiddos now, and so they're all smart young adults that are very successful in their own right. So it's not a whole lot of asking of us anymore, but I applaud them for that. But yeah, we're just trying to enjoy ourselves here. My wife and I, we've been married since 1984. My goodness, it's been a long time. 43 years. What is that? I forget what. Just do the math on it.
Congrats.
It's a long time here. So it's been a great ride with her, and we've really just had a tremendous relationship, and it's just been great to have.
wow.
That's amazing.
So do you have time for a fan Q&A?
Sure.
Okay. So we have this speaker app on my phone where fans can tune in, and we have a couple of questions here for you. One of the first question from one of our fans, they want to know, would he get back into coaching? Since you were coaching the Arena Football League, they want to know, would you get back into it?
Well, if the situation was right, I would get back into it. I literally can go do what I like to do, and that's I'm still part of football in some level. Being as a broadcaster, could I step out of the broadcast booth? Sure. I mean, I'm not tied to a broadcast position, but it would have to be the right situation, and I'm not seeking those things out right now. That's actually a journey that a lot of guys go through, and some are successful at it, some aren't. I mean, as far as just the journey, just getting an opportunity to coach. I was able to get my coaching back in 2004. Became the head coach of an arena football team, a very different game. I call it the indoor game, not the outdoor game, but the indoor game has its own different nuances. And actually, the Arena Football League, I hear, is making a comeback. It's been dormant for about 5 years, so I think it's about to come back in a new thing. There's a quick little little bit of news flash here. Wow. Tim Brown, who is a Hall of Fame NFL wide receiver here in the Dallas area, is going to be the commissioner of the 2024 Arena Football League as it kicks off. And so I just learned that little tidbit this morning. So little news for you.
Nice.
Oh, that's breaking news right here from Gary.
We want to see it. I love those bowl games. I mean, let's hear about it.
Arena football is fun. It's a 50-yard field, and you can easily it's every play is a potential touchdown. And literally that's how it is. It's one play hit and it's exactly what you do. And so the games, that's why they're the 70, 75 to 69, that's you're going to get those types of scores in the indoor game. That's just the way the game is built. And it's just a handful of players out there on the field, not as many as on 11-man football, but it makes it fun. It's an interesting game. It's a whole different strategy, but it was fun to coach for me to be a part of that. Still love that brand of football.
And the Pro Bowl was fun too. Did you watch the Pro Bowl?
I did not. I'll be honest with you. I didn't watch
versus each other.
Well, so it was flag football, right? They did flag football this year, right? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
Eli Manning, I don't know, maybe he has a future in coaching, so we got to see.
I just love him and Peyton. Both those guys, Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame inductees, by the way.
Yeah.
They're pretty cool. And Archie and Peyton in Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. So
I like their podcast together.
Yeah. They're like
Yeah, they're good guys.
Jason Kelsey and Travis Kelsey too. So
Yeah.
But so another fan question. Someone wants to know. Speaking of best moments, they want to know one of your best moments so far as a broadcaster and analyst.
Wow, I'll just tell you a little bit of history. I mean, I've broadcast college football for a long time, and having the pleasure to work with one of the icons of college football, and you guys may be just a little younger, but I've worked games with Keith Jackson. So Keith Jackson was really ABC football when it came up in the 70s, in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And being a part of a broadcast with him, he's legendary. And that was really fun for me to be a part of that and work with him and Lynn Swan, formerly of the Pittsburgh Steelers and Terry Bradshaw's team. So so that was really cool to be a part of. I think I'd just leave it at
that. Well, another fan question. Someone wants to know, what was your take on the Georgia Bulldogs winning back-to-back championships?
Well, the dominant teams today in the collegiate space are the guys that can assemble big players on the defensive side of the ball and big players on the offensive side of the ball, on the offensive defensive lines. It's really an interior game that is really gives the teams the chance to succeed. So Georgia's defense was number one all year long. So it doesn't really surprise me that they got as great a success as they have. Now you flip it over to the offensive side of the ball, and quarterback play and the game, they just took care of business. I look at them as kind of like the old New York Giants team. I mean, they really played kind of our style of football: physical, tough, dominant defense, and offense. Just do what it takes to win the football game. They weren't very, not flashy or anything like that. That's just how they play, and that's kind of what the Georgia Bulldogs are about right now. And believe it or not, the Alabama Crimson Tide are very much the same way, the same methodology. So that all kind of goes back to the era of when I was playing under Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick, how we built our teams. And I see that as still a very dominant way to win collegiate football games.
All right,
this makes me want to do a whole college tour. Nathan and I want to go see every college team. This is what this does to us.
It's, you could go and there's a story everywhere. I mean, I've been to most major college universities in America. I've had the pleasure to travel, had the pleasure to be a part of those experiences and those arenas. And I tell you, it's fun when I look back at my broadcast career, is that I've been on a college campus every Saturday in the fall for essentially 30 years. And that's unique, where you get to go to a college campus, understand and feel the vibe that's on campus, and all the excitement and stuff with the student population and the teams and the game that's about to be played. But to see that excitement every single week in the fall, it's really pretty fun. It's cool. Not many people have had a chance to do that, and I'm very, very fortunate, as I know, to have experienced that. And it just shows you that the game of football is a very cohesive mechanism to be able to bring people and communities and fans across the nation together. And much like this weekend, we're about to get into Super Bowl week here. This is Super Bowl week, and this coming Sunday, the big game. So much like that, this is what football does. It kind of galvanizes our community of sports and viewers, and it's the biggest thing out there.
Yeah, so
absolutely.
We'll take two more fan questions, and one of my good friends is in this chat here. His name, my friend Tim. He's a big Eagle fan like Kia, so he wants to know: does the Eagles defense remind you of your defense back in the day?
Yeah. They're a very physical, dominant defense. They play with the big guys up front are really what set the table for them. They've got some great secondary players as well. I like the Eagles defense. I think they're obviously playing at a very, very high level. Great defenses have a chance to win championships. That's kind of an old saying, but it really is true.
And then the last fan question, they want to know, since you're in Texas, favorite food spot in Texas?
Oh boy. I'm going to tell you, I'm a Tex-Mex guy. I like Tex-Mex food. So if you come down to Texas, whether you're in Houston or whether you're in Dallas or whether you're in Austin, you just got to think of Pappasitos. Okay. Pappasitos or Papa's branded restaurants. You got Pappasitos, which is Tex-Mex. Okay. You have Papa's Steakhouse, and you have Papa Do's, which is actually a Louisiana Cajun flair type music. But I think it's part of the Landry family of restaurants. But the Papa's brand here, Pappasitos for my Tex-Mex restaurant, is really my go-to. And we just celebrated my daughter's birthday, a few months ago, a couple months back. We made a beeline right there. That's her favorite restaurant also. So I taught one of them right.
And happy birthday early to you, Gary.
Yeah, happy early birthday too.
Thank you. Yeah, the years are ticking by. I'll be 61 here next week. So it is what it is. You can't stop it.
Now you got to celebrate your birthday in the same place.
It is. It'll be. We might go down there. It's not too far. So they have a couple up here in the Dallas area. We're north of town here where I'm at, and it's a great time, great place to go. And just if you want to have good Tex-Mexican experience, Pappasitos.
Nice.
So a couple more things before we let you go. I'm a big Cowboy fan. Obviously, you know that already. And I got to bring up Micah Parsons. Obviously, you see a close hand in Texas. So what are your thoughts on Micah Parsons so far in his career? And everybody's comparing him to Lawrence Taylor, but I'm not going to do that because he still has room to grow. But what have you seen so far that excites you with Micah Parsons?
Well, so I'm here in the Dallas market, so I've seen everything that Micah Parsons, was supposed to be, what he is. He's gotten over a little bit of injury, and now he's come into his own over the last couple of seasons. I see him as a very dynamic player. I see him as a guy who's, he's asked to do a lot, and they should ask a lot of him because he's a superlative athlete and a guy that just can make plays. Very, very few players have just the motor and the natural skill set that he has. This is all natural stuff to him. That's a Lawrence Taylor kind of an S kind of a player. But I think that he's going to have a bright future. He's going to have a great middle part of his career as this is coming up here. I don't see there's anything going to hold him down unless injuries, because whoever he's going against, he's smart enough to understand how do you defeat somebody. With today's tools and technology, you can make a game plan of how you want to approach a particular offensive lineman and get around them and potentially win there. So I think that Micah does a good job of that. He studies the game, and I think he's actually a sponge of information. I just hear things from the outside in that he's one of those guys that likes to learn the game and he likes to understand a lot of the game. So the more that all comes to fold, it's much like an offensive quarterback. As much as as a player defensively, the game slows down, and you can assess a lot more. As a defensive player, we're more taught to react and be able to anticipate because of formations, personnel groups, down and distance, position on the field, all different types of things. Once you get through it over a course of a few years, and Micah's into his third or fourth year now, he'll have a chance to really even build on what he has seen and learned and accomplished. And I think he's still got much, much better days ahead of
him. Kia?
Oh, another question? Oh, sure. Tell us about what is the best advice that you can give to anyone looking to get into football?
Well,
the young kids, because it's so much when.
Well, I think the young players, they need to play as fast as they can, because I think when you're a youth player, if you're playing at the youth sports level, you can pick up some really good traits, learning how to tackle right. And that means tackle with the side of the head, not the head. Try to use your shoulders and arms to do so, and not using the head, which we were all kind of taught to put the helmet right in the middle. Yeah. But we'll do that. We want to slide the helmet to the side and make a tackle. So youth players have a chance to learn that. And I tell them all the time, it just takes reps. People, if you haven't played, you really don't understand what the experience is of even just putting on the football pads, putting on the gear. So it's really funny when you take a third grader and they've never put the uniform on before, and they start pulling on the pants and the shoulder pads and the jersey. I mean, it'll take 30 minutes for the first time that you're trying to dress a young person for a football game. Just think about that. And after that, it gets a little easier to get those guys suited up. But it's just a knowledge of what to expect. And it's the same thing as a player. You don't know what to expect unless you've experienced it. And I use this analogy all the time that, it's kind of the fear of the unknown. Why do college coaches always go to the opposing stadium when you're going on a road trip, when you're taking your team out of town? Well, they go on Friday before a Saturday game in the college game simply because of this. They want their players to be able to go into the locker room, understand where they're going to get dressed, walk down the same path that they're going to walk down onto the field, walk around the field, look up in the stands where there's nobody there, and just so they haven't been the first time they're doing it, it's not going to be game time. They want their players to have a little bit of an experience there, so that they have a little bit of frame of knowledge, and that kind of settles people down for the unexpected. So the more you can get as far as where you're playing and all your inhibitions are all taken care of, all those things that you haven't prepared for, that's what it is. I tell people all the time, they ask me, they say, what is the best trait of a Bill Belichick, and what has his coaching success been like? I'll tell people all the time that Bill has built his career on one thing: preparedness. He is the most prepared. He makes his players the most prepared. He demands preparedness from all of his players. And if you are prepared, then everything can take care of itself if you've got the tools to win in a particular situation. But, if you're not prepared, just, it's not going to happen. So it's not so much a game of chance as it is preparedness. And, I think that you can take a lot of those things basically in life and use that moving forward. Be prepared in anything or whatever you do, and you'll have a great chance to succeed.
Great advice. Great advice.
Amazing. Yeah, I love that. I love that. And before we get to the last two things, we're trying this new segment out. It's called The Story Never Told. We're 2 out of 3 from this, but can you tell our fans a story that you never told anyone before?
Story that I've never told anyone, huh?
I'm just trying out this new segment to see if it works.
I'm pretty much an open book. I mean, there's not much that's not out there on me. Really about my career and whatever, and I'm just kind of at a loss here. I could make something up, but that would be good.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. But the last two things here, our team is part of this foundation. It's called the Hugh Jackson Foundation. I'm sure you know him, former NFL coach. Now he's coaching at Grambling State University, and we're trying to help him prevent human trafficking, making sure the community stays safe and everybody stays safe. So we'll send you the foundation so you can go check it out.
Well, I'll tell you this. I talked to Coach Jackman earlier this year in Shreveport. He actually obviously the head coach at Grambling State University. I broadcast the Grambling Northwestern State game. His first game as a head coach. They beat up on my Northwestern State Demons that game, so he got his first collegiate win there. So that was good for him.
Yeah. So the last thing here, would you like to say anything to all the nurses, doctors, and all the central workers right now?
Well, obviously, it is a line of service that has been provided to our country, and it's an ongoing service line that we take for granted. They put themselves into harm's way, and everyone, obviously, with the world that we've gone through over the last 3+ years, and with COVID being as rampant as it has, these healthcare workers and professionals, they have really put everybody in their communities first, and sometimes they put themselves out there in harm's way, and we don't necessarily always have a chance to say thank you to them. So I say thank you to all of those folks, and continue the great work that you continually do, and we're thankful for it.
Okay, thank you. Well said. And can you tell our fans where they can find you on social media?
I'm at Gary Reasons on Twitter, Facebook. I'm a little bit there, I'll answer Twitter responses. I'm a big LinkedIn guy, so check me out on LinkedIn at Gary Reasons on LinkedIn, and you'll find out where I'm at there, and just reach out to me, and I'm very responsive for the most part. And I still get these in the mailbox every week. I get 3 or 4 or 5 trading cards to sign for people, and these are going out. So I just signed these this morning. That's why I haven't gotten the mailbox yet. But somewhere my address is somewhere, and I get bombarded by fans who are card collectors, and I'm pretty gracious to sign them and send them back. I don't ask anything of them, but I still get that. Anyway, it's a little bit of a pat on the back. Say, this is still cool for a guy who's been out of the game since for about 25 plus years. So it's pretty cool to get some of that stuff still.
Well, that's amazing, truly amazing. And Kia, you want to tell about yourself real quick before we wrap up?
Well, Gary, I also, and to the viewers, I also have another company, which is High Performance Consulting, and we represent success stories and diversity inclusion to share stories to promote unity and community. And then I also do men's and women's apparel.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So there you have it. The one and only Gary Reasons, 2-time Super Bowl champion from the New York Giants and part of the Northwestern State College Football Hall of Fame. Go check him out. Now he's a broadcaster in college football over 30 years. And man, he's doing great things off the field. But Gary, thank you again for joining us. It's truly an honor. And we love hearing about your story, and keep up the great work as a broadcaster. Obviously, we'll stay connected and possibly have you back on the show again once you're not busy. But good luck. Enjoy the Super Bowl with your family, and have fun. Thank you.
Yeah, have a great weekend, you guys, and hopefully you get the outcome you like there, Kia.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.